Hi everyone, my name is Vanessta Spark and I am the owner of Unique Spark.
I'm Terry Tafoya Monroe and I am the owner and founder of Eternal Truth LLC.
Welcome back everybody to Unique Spark Heart Healing. Today we are on part 4 and our question for you today is, how can you start healing your spiritual heart wounds right away? And we're going to explore some first steps to healing. And I think the first thing that we want to talk about is something that we've mentioned before, the awareness of the wounds. So I want to also add to that the importance of acknowledging that you have a wound in the first place, because denial or suppressing the wound only makes it go deeper within the heart. And this brings me to the point of a couple of statements that we often hear that I heard growing up, and that was, why do you bring up old stuff? Just put it away, move on. You don't have to bring up this bad stuff that has happened to you. And that is a thought that is not helpful. That just deepens the wound in the first place. Yeah, do you want to add anything to that point?
Yeah, well, like I said in one of our other videos, in the Emotional Healing Made Simple by the Praying Medic, it's been really helpful to me. And I think that it's almost like a protection mechanism when we are like in a fight and flight state, which means we're just being strong, which means like, oh, I'm fine, I forgive my mom, like it's okay, she did the best she could. But what he says here is, he actually says that some think they do not need emotional healing because they believe that time heals all wounds. And the truth is that time does not heal emotional wounds, and it may actually worsen the effect of emotional wounds that remain unhealed. And I know how this related to me, Vanessta, was that, why do you think most people go through a midlife crisis?
Right.
Because it's the midlife time that we finally are not as busy with the kids, that now the kids are either leaving the house, going off to college, and now we're left.
My time now.
Yeah. And what my time actually means is reflection.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, if you notice, actually get divorced after the kids leave the house.
Yeah.
And why is that?
Yeah.
I know for me, because I was in this, I don't need to go into a past, this is fine.
Yeah.
Even though I knew so many things were wrong in the marriage, every day I was being a mom. You know, you get up, you do your everyday activities. So for me, I think that why we want to say time heals all wounds, and it's not actually true, is because at some point in time, it is going to surface.
Right.
What is hidden eventually does come out.
Right.
It needs to, whether it manifests in our health or our ability in relationships. There's going to come a time in our life that you're going to realize that you've run out of time.
I think for me too, I had built walls up around my wounds, and so because I didn't want to look at them. And walls that are built up around your wounds, my mindset walls, eventually come down because they become too heavy to carry. They come tumbling down. There's a pivotal point in your life, in everyone's life, where they come down. And my wounds that I had kept hidden, oh my gosh, for 60 years, weren't healed. Just by suppressing the wound, keeping it at bay, not thinking about it, not spending any time discovering what the wounds were, they were not being healed by time. 60 years did not heal my wounds. And so, and also, we haven't gotten into this too much, but there is, some concepts called neuroplasticity, things, events, wounds, experiences, soul wounds that happen are imprinted on our brains. Our thoughts and beliefs from those wounds are imprinted on our brains, and they do not change until we come back around and discover what they are and change those thought patterns. So back to the first step, it's acknowledging the wound, that it exists.
Yes.
And we want to encourage you not to deny it or suppress that wound, because it just makes it go deeper.
Yeah.
And then another step is to seek support. You know, this is besides the journaling.
Yeah. Got our journals here.
Yes, the journaling, writing things down, and going to God in prayer and asking Him through reflection and through knowingness and to listening to Him. We find out what those wounds are. But so those are the first steps.
Those are the first steps. And I want to remind our viewers of why we're even doing this.
Yeah.
We are doing this because we were in your, we're not even out of your situation.
Right.
We have been in the place that you are, the place of knowing that something needs to be healed and not sure why.
Right.
Seeking friends, maybe close friends will actually make you feel like crazy as you're discussing things. And that's why we become mentors. That's why we do what we do, so that we can now mentor and help you walk through, and help you understand what you're going through. And we can only do it because we've gone through it ourselves.
Right,
Yes.
right. We can identify with the pain, the feelings that you're going through. Even though all journeys are unique, we can support you in that way.
Absolutely.
It's important, you know, there are numerous Bible verses about sharing one's burden. And we want to be, you know, some of those people that you can share with. But there's also family members, there's counselors, there's pastors. Just be, you know, allow God to direct you to the person that He wants you to share your burden with.
Yeah. What I like to call it, Vanessta, is there's a chain breaker in every family. And what a chain breaker consists of is basically the one who is acknowledging there's something wrong, and that it's bothering you to the point where you want it to stop. And so going back to you suggesting going to a family member is, I've found sometimes if you go with your siblings and sit down with your siblings and say, you know, tell me what your childhood was like, how you remember our childhood. Because each child in the family is going to have a different role and a different perspective on the family dynamics based off the oldest to the youngest. But you will find as you're investigating, because I kind of see this like as an investigating. You're starting to investigate. You're curious now. Something's come up in your journaling, and now you're actually trying to decipher through that, to examine. And so sometimes going to a sibling may even bring up something like, oh, I didn't remember that. Yeah. So I think it's really important to speak out how you're feeling and talk to others.
You know, when I started my healing journey, I went through restoring the foundations. I wanted to go through this certification process, and one of the first topics that we talked about was generational patterns. And so I consulted with my sisters. What are the patterns that you see? And I also consulted with them as, you know, what were some of the things that I went through when I was younger? And so, you know, family members, it's kind of fun to go back to your family members and inquire how something came about, or the belief system that came about. Even I'm Norwegian. And with being a Scandinavian person, there's a whole culture, there's a whole set of iniquities that come down the line. It's fascinating to take a look at some of those things. But I did want to go back to one point, because we're talking about seeking another person in sharing your journey with. It's so important that whatever you get from that person, whether it be a family member, a trusted friend, that you take what they give you back to the Word of God. Does it align?
And
you know,
it's so important. Thank you for bringing that up, because I think that a lot of people will give you their opinions. And especially, so going back to the family members, is let's just say that there has been abuse in the family, and you're bringing it to the surface, and the rest of the family doesn't want to deal with this. So they're going to either make you feel crazy, or they're going to segregate you, or they're going to gang up on you. So it's not always as easy as, I'm so thankful you had your sisters. My situation was different. Where it was just like, oh gosh, what is she doing? She's writing a book. What's she writing about? She's telling our dirty laundry. And most people do want to keep things hidden. because they just hope it will go away. Nobody wants to go back and deal with this stuff. You know, this is some deep stuff that we've dealt with since childhood that now is coming to the surface, and we want help on it.
Yes. And when you keep something hidden, you're keeping it in the dark. And only light can bring change. Darkness cannot bring change.
That was the first thing the Lord showed me, was that anything is hidden, stays hidden, and that is what really causes your body the inflammation, sickness, because you're hiding a secret. And as soon as you let it out, just like you said, it has now been brought out to the light, and it's exposed, so it doesn't have the power that it had. And it doesn't have to be a secret. I feel like whenever I'm talking more of the deep molestation stuff. But it can be something as just simple as, like, you know, did mom say these things to you, because now I struggle with my identity because my mom always brought to light that I wasn't good enough. So,
you know, I had a client, like you said, it doesn't have to be molestation. I had a client that was bullied severely all through her life, and that affected her worth. It affected all of her relationships. She is now 55, and that occurred when she was in high school, for many years in her high school. So keeping that hidden, suppressing that, did not help her, and time definitely did not heal those wounds.
It sure doesn't. And I feel like in this day and age with social media, that is why everybody is bringing it out. So that we can, because you're so surprised how much support you'll get and how many people are out there suffering and struggling the same thing that you're going through. And that's why I feel like we want you to know that it's so important to find support.
So we're focusing on first steps, and you know, I think I'm going to save my journal entry for another time because of time. So do you want to talk about what question they should answer in their journals today?
So hopefully by now you guys have been journaling, and hopefully some stuff is getting stirred up. Okay, everyone, so go ahead and get your journals ready. And your call to action today for your journal entry is journaling about your wound and talking to someone that you trust. So I know that for both Vanessta and I, that no matter how many classes that we've taken or how many courses that we've taken, that journaling has been the most healing power for us. And so we're going to end our session today with Vanessta sharing an entry from a year ago. It's over 11 years after her mother died. And this was the entry of Vanessta's entry.
My healing. This was the start of my healing journey. And I had just learned about generational patterns. And I had realized that my mom, who passed away 11 years before, I remember the funeral. I did not cry. You know what I did? I was critical of the pastor because she didn't really know him. Remember we talked about criticalness?
But why do you do that? It was a protection.
Yes, it was.
So you didn't have to feel emotions.
Right. And so then I wrote my mom a letter. So I'll read my journal entry to you. Talking to my sisters today about generational patterns was helpful. For the first time, I grieved the loss of my mother. She went through so much, and I don't want her fears to move through my generation and my descendants. I want to use my mother's perseverance and God's courage to move me forward into the calling God has for me. Thank you, Mom, for your tenacity, courage, faith, and moral compass. I'm getting choked up. Thank you for doing your best in life and moving through the shame that you experienced your entire life. Thank you for supporting me and loving me the best that you could. I love you, Mom.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. I hope that this sparks something in you, and we can't wait to hear about what you journal entry. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.